Okay, hello. こんにちは. Hello everyone. My name is Keiko Ogawa. And it is very honor to be given this opportunity to introduce RegTech in Japan in this very good, great event. So first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. Okay. So can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, it's showing.
Okay. So let's start. So I am a partner of EY ShinNihon, EY Japan, the RegTech leader. I have been working as governance and compliance specialist to support many Japanese companies, including the leading Japanese financial institution for about 20 years, after having worked as an auditor for 10 years. Next, I would like to describe a part of our RegTech activity briefly. So, over 3 years ago, we established the RegTech team in EY Japan. Since then, we have been working for RegTech ecosystem with key players such as RegTech users, startups, Japan FinTech Association, regulators, academics, and so on. As you know, RegTech has first spread in the UK and US to avoid strict regulation and heavy sanctions. However, currently I think RegTech is beginning to attract attention in Asia as this event and South America and other areas globally. So today I want to talk about 3 topics. First one, a surge of RegTech global markets briefly. And secondly, the RegTech in Japan just started. And thirdly, our challenges. The first topic is a surge of RegTech global market. Last year, we supported the Global RegTech Industry Benchmark Report issued by a research team of the Cambridge Center of Alternative Finance team, which is based at the Judge Business School of the University of Cambridge. If I'm interested in, please refer to this link. So before talking about the Japanese RegTech market, I want to present a global scale of RegTech market from this report briefly. As you can see here, this is the volume of RegTech global activities represented by estimated revenue and fund rise. As of 2008, it is estimated that RegTech firms employs 44,000 people globally, earned about $4.9 billion in annual revenue, and raise 9.7 billion external funding. There is a clear link between the surge in RegTech global market entry between 2040 to 2080 and the number of new regulations introduced during that time. As you can see here, the target use case of RegTech solutions mainly include data collection, data analysis, risk identification, regulatory management information tools, and so on. And the next page, so these figures show the main regulatory areas covered by RegTech include the KYC and know your customers, and AML, anti-money laundering, and its related solutions, such as negative research using AI and transaction monitoring as well. Also, as you can see here, fraud detection and personal data protection, product governance, and quality control, and also new technology for regulatory and financial report and tax return as well. These are the trends of RegTech in the global market. So in the next slide, I would like to introduce RegTech trend in Japan. So please see this bar graph. Yellow bar graph shows the percentage of regulated firms headquarters in each country, and the gray bar shows the percentage of regulated firms active in each country. Geographical concentration of activities reflect the influence of the world major financial service center. Almost 2/3 of activities have significant market share in the UK, and nearly half did so in the US. So, on the other hand, as you can hear, so Japan is still small. It's on the starting point, I think. So please next page. And given this situation, Japanese regulators also have a number of initiatives to drive RegTech. The Financial Services Agency of JFSA, a regulator of financial institutions, discussed their efforts to drive RegTech in its financial sector oversight policy, and it also emphasized the importance of a public-private partnership platform to support the RegTech ecosystem. In addition, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry has developed a basic framework for RegTech SupTech implementation roadmap. SupTech, have you heard this one? And this is technology used by the regulators to supervise in compliance area. So also the Prime Minister's Office encouraged RegTech SupTech-driven innovation as a part of their 2020 growth strategy. In this slide, I want to introduce several Japanese leading RegTech startups. Japanese RegTech market is still at the starting point. However, several new startups have already been expanding their business. For example, Keychain supports data security using blockchain technology. TrustDoc provides eKYC services, and Frontier provides digital forensic services, and Basset provides Chris Asset trade monitoring system. So last year, the RegTech working team was established in Japanese FinTech Association to promote this new opportunity in Japan. I also have an expectation for this new field. So next, let's focus on global RegTech vendor entering the Japan market. Currently, many global RegTech vendors are also entering the Japanese market. Their solutions are used not only for AML, KYC, fraud, but also for regulatory reporting, and so on. For example, ShinNihon is a new communication service which provides, like a Slack, online collaboration services for financial institutions. I'm very interested in this new technology. So in 2014, 50 financial firms, most of US banks, fund it, which keeps transparency in compliance for a variety of internal and external interactions. And the process mining tools support to establish credible operating process for compliance. And data collection tools such as Anaplan and Tagatic are used for gathering source data for regulatory reporting globally. They provide more flexible, user-friendly, yet steady workflow system with timestamps, which are very important function for internal control, I think. As you already know, some of the technology of RegTech have been around for 2 or 3 decades. In today's RegTech, their market entry and product development in various segments. RegTech is now expected to promote the use of cloud, APIs, and other new technologies and replace compliance with end-to-end process. So next, I want to talk about our challenges. I would like to point out 3 major challenges for RegTech Japan market as well as Japanese RegTech startups. First one is how we solve implementation issues, and second one is the future of RegTech in Japan, and third one is how we establish and sustain the RegTech ecosystem in Japan. Next, I will talk about RegTech implementation issues. I want to describe some insights from 2 aspects, startup side and user company side. At first, when Japanese startups challenges the RegTech industry, they need to overcome several difficult issues. The Cambridge report shows us that many RegTech are born global firms from the start, because the great scale of financial and other regulation originates has an international level and has covered toward international standards. When Japanese startups challenge to expand their business from Japan to global market, they need to specific regulatory knowledge as well as language skill of the target country. Also, creating partnerships with others in the ecosystem will be a key factor to success of RegTech startups. On the other perspective, Japanese user companies acknowledge that implementation of RegTech is likely to face many difficult issues. Currently, I'm very focused on the data governance for trusted data. For a long time in Japan, in many Japanese companies, I think that data governance has tended to be neglected in many Japanese companies, I think. But RegTech works on an appropriate data infrastructure. Also, risk management for new technology will be a point. When using emerging IT technology such as RPA, robotics, and AI, we need to recognize and analyze new risks and establish an IT governance and IT general control framework. Above all, I think more important things are penetration of compliance culture, as well as compliance with other key, as well as collaboration with other key players in the ecosystem. The point here is how to create the blueprint to solve pain points of a company, society, rather than which technology to be used. We need to solve this issue in order to achieve digital transformation in Japan through RegTech. So let's move to the next slide. This slide shows you a RegTech maturity models. I think the most Japanese companies are still on the first stage. However, as already mentioned, some Japanese startups have been already challenging the second or next stage using the latest technology like machine learning and RPA, etc. Currently, RegTech is going to be more dynamic and real-time and more cooperative. For example, using open data with data democratization and end-to-end compliance with machine readable and machine executable, and so on. Furthermore, some companies have started to consider taking advantage of latest compliance framework, we call a managed service, where the company outsources compliance operation to specialized firms that have necessary technology with specialized compliance knowledge. By doing so, the company tries to separate their compliance workload. In this regard, I think the third-party risk will be more recognized from now on. In any case, we hope Japanese future RegTech will be widespread. So next, I'd like to talk about Japanese RegTech ecosystem. As you know, the regulations, innovation, and compliance are closely connected to the public and private sectors, and it provides RegTech ecosystem for further innovation to success in the age of digital transformation. As you know, in Japan, the Cabinet Office's regulatory sandbox has covered all sectors in addition to financial service sectors. Also, the JFSS FinTech POC Hub, Proof of Concept Hub, has been established. You can see here in the RegTech ecosystem, there are many key players working together. I think one company should not monopolize the goods in it. Instead, many key players should use them as public goods. But in that case, who will bear the cost of establishing it? The government or the private companies? So, for example, the private sector owns their own ecosystem, bearing the cost of application and development, and the regulator takes or drives the role of setting data standard and data architecture. This is one idea. In the next two slides, I want to show you several RegTech ecosystem use cases in Japan. A Japanese regulation related anti-money laundering was amended in November 2018, which allows online verification in eKYC. Several initiatives have started since then. For example, on May 2020, nation's largest bank and two regional banks announced that they will use the Multiband Identification platform, which is supported by a major Japanese IT vendors. Also on May 2020, AirPost, a common platform for administrative procedure such as changing addresses, was announced with the participation of large banks and the biggest insurance companies and the biggest security companies in Japan as well. And the next use case, R&C insurance industry has been working to enhance an industry-wide database of fraudulent claims. In April 2020, the General Insurance Association of Japan announced to establish a system to utilize the database to analyze connections among fraudulent claims. The establishment of this new system will ensure more effective prevention of insurance fraud. I'm very interested in this initiative because Japanese several key and big players are involved in cooperation and driven Japanese innovation. And finally, as compared to FinTech, the RegTech is expected to create future innovation through the collaboration of many stakeholders, such as public and private sectors, users and RegTech startup vendor, academics and other past partners. I also expect that the ecosystem is created not only within one country, but also with many countries worldwide through global collaboration. I hope RegTech global ecosystem will solve many of the challenges. Okay. So hope to meet you in person at next future event. So thank you today. See you soon. Thank you very much. ありがとうございました。
Thank you so much, Ms. Ogawa, for joining us today and for sharing with us your experience. 我们是不是再一次掌声？谢谢小川惠子小姐。Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you.